Ms. Newman, in your opening statement, you made reference to RAND, and is my understanding, at the administration's request, they did an exhaustive study on terrorism prevention, and among other things, found that prevention works. But at the same time, found that the effort and energy that goes into terrorism prevention is minuscule compared to that goes into other law enforcement and counterterrorism type programs. So can you kind of explain the difference between the two? What are we talking about in reference to terrorism prevention versus counterterrorism?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Hice. Absolutely. The RAND study, we asked them specifically to assess the amount that's being spent on prevention, and in particular, we asked to compare that to our international counterparts, those who are similarly equipped to be able to do things through law enforcement and other counterterrorism means. And the results did indicate that we are spending less than many of our European partners. That could be because of the challenges that they have faced with ISIS recently are much more significant than we have faced. Not that our challenges aren't still great, but the numbers are kind of speak for themselves. They found that FBI and their law enforcement activities, their assessments, their investigations, about $165 million a year, and to give you a snapshot, it costs about $1 million for from assessment to post-release supervision for each individual with a 15-year sentence. On the federal prevention side, we're spending about 12 to 13 million annually. That's an estimate. And their recommendation based on the threat that we're facing was 20 to 50 million is what we should be spending. And according to the population that we have here in the United States, maybe something like 150 to 450 million. So that gives us a bit of a range as we're starting to build out a prevention framework and put together budgets and have conversations with Congress. Gives us a sense of what we should be doing. I think the other thing I would mention is the practical side of this, the cost of cleaning up a terrorist attack can range anywhere from tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars. I believe the Boston Marathon bombing was in the $330 million range. That doesn't even account for the lives that are lost or permanently changed, and all of the grief and emotional toil that the families go through. For the cost of a field representative, which when you add benefits and travel costs, let's say $200,000, and a small grant that might be $250,000 to $1 million to a state or to a police department, or however the state decides to structure their prevention efforts, that might save us. So you're talking just a little under $1 million. In the state of Colorado, we had 24 interventions in less than a 2-year period. If just one of those individuals had been successful in committing an attack, we would be cleaning things up for tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. So the return on investment is definitely documented in the RAND study. It was very helpful.
So would you consider that then the biggest takeaway in that study?
There are a number of things. It's a 300-page report. They identified best practices, areas, lines of effort that the federal government should do. It told us very clearly that the concept of terrorism prevention is not our state and local partners' top priority. Their top priority is...
Well, I've only got about just less than a minute left, but should it be a top priority? I mean, obviously it works, so it sounds like a pretty...
I think by opening the aperture to address targeted violence and terrorism prevention, it helps our state and local partners with what they care about, which is all violence as opposed to a particular type of ideology.
Should the terrorism prevention be a part of the counterterrorism strategy?
It is. It is in the national strategy, and we're actually working on the DHS counterterrorism strategy. That's what this prevention framework will be nested in, and we hope to release it in the fall.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. Thank you, Mr. Hice, and I now